John Mitchell said, "Our attitude towards life determines life's attitude towards us." So, haven't we been talking about spreading smiles and being a listening ear to someone in need all through our podcast? In the last episode of the Tribes of Women series, today I have with me a school psychologist who has a wonderful initiative of My Zone, speaking the unspeakable in a community that needs no introduction to our audience, that is, Tribes of Women. First of all, I would like to welcome you, Anita Butani ji, for taking out time and joining us for a brand new episode of the Changemakers of Mentogram.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here and nice meeting you. Hello to everyone listening in.
Lovely. To start off, let's get to know about you first and how you joined Tribes of Women.
Well, I am a psychologist because that is what my educational background is about. And I have a keen interest, one, in meeting people and connecting with people. And I also have an interest in always ensuring that I am upgrading, upskilling myself. So in the process of upskilling, and I must say, I am grateful to COVID. I mean, we dread it, of course, but I am also grateful because with all the bad that has happened, there is also something different, something good, or something new that has come about. And thanks to COVID, a lot of things went online, almost everything, I would say. And in the process, I happened to get to know about a webinar that was being conducted by Dr. Shobha Mangoli. She was talking about powerful dialogues. It's a book that she had brought out, and of course I have the book as well, and I must recommend that. But what I'd like to say is I attended that session and I was so impressed just by listening to it that I wanted to connect instantly. And then there was no looking back. That's when I got connected with Dr. Shobha and the team, and that's how we really got started with My Zone later.
That's sweet, I would say, because you got connected to someone at such a random event. You did not think that it could be something that could be lifelong, because the Tribes of Women and your connection with Shobha ma'am, this sounds like you are going to work with each other for the rest of your life and improve it as what we say, it's going to be like that honey which is going to be as sweeter as it ages, right?
And would you believe it? We've not even met in person.
Oh, this is all virtual.
Yes, of course. It's only virtual, but the bond that we have is something different out of the world.
Lovely. Okay, so how does being a psychologist help you in facilitating My Zone, speaking the unspeakable for people? Because My Zone is something that was created in Tribes of Women, and since you are into psychology, so has it is it somehow related, and how has it helped you in facilitating My Zone?
Yeah. So let me just start with how we really started. After we attended the My Zone, Dr. Shobha felt the need that it should reach out to people. So the Tribes of Women was formed that way with 4 members, which is Dr. Shobha Mangoli, Dr. Anita Raja, Nandini Cardoso, and myself, Anita. So the 4 of us got together, and that's how Tribes of Women really stepped onto the website on that platform. And under Tribes of Women, we have, as you mentioned, My Zone, speaking the unspeakable. To tell you about My Zone, it is a platform where we have women get together and share their thoughts, their experiences, and their views about what they think on a particular topic. Now, one would wonder, I mean, how does this really help? In the process, actually, of several years of observation, research, and experiences of primarily Dr. Shobha and Dr. Anita Raja, both of them, and then followed by Nandini and myself, we have found that all people need is a willing ear to listen, and all people need is to be able to hear what other people have experienced. So the premise is that we are all capable of being able to resolve our problems. We are all capable of resolving our problems. All we need is just a little bit of shift to understand how others as well go through. So the way I deal with things may be novel for someone else. Likewise, when someone else is dealing with a similar situation, that would be novel for me, because obviously perspectives differ. The way we respond or react also differs. And that is what really holds my zone together. And I can very well say very proudly that each of the members has benefited tremendously. The existing members, they have benefited to the extent that I keep getting told that thanks to this platform, we have transformed. We now look at ourselves with a different look. We don't look down on ourselves, nor do we put ourselves down. We know what our value is, what our worth is. And the question that you asked me was how being a psychologist helps me. Now, a psychologist is required to be empathetic, understanding, and also establish a connect with the person, with the client, so to speak, whether it is an individual client or a group of people. Having obtained these skills in my study, I find this skill, each of the skills that we developed or gained, and also the experience of working with them, that is what really has helped me in good stead and establish the connect with each and every member who is a triber.
Yeah, as you said, that about tribers and about the four ladies coming up with an initiative known as Tribes of Women. So, like when I introduced you that how this is the last episode of this particular series of the Tribes of Women, it was because I have already had all the three ladies on our show, and you're the fourth one who was remaining, and I'm very sure that this is going to be one of the best episodes we have had in the entire series, and this is something that is going to come up with very exciting questions and answers that people would want to know, that how do people can actually come up with stories or captions or something like that every day. And coming on that, I have noticed your stories every day with a post and a relatable caption. So like that is something which is like that you observe people very well, that you see something every day and then you are like, okay, this is something that has happened today. But many of us do not write about it. We do not think of writing it down and then sharing it with the world, and then also including a call to action with that have you ever thought of this? So if you were at this person's plate, what would you be doing? So how did you come up with such relatable ideas, and what was your idea behind this entire thing that you are doing?
Well, I must give the initial credit, of course, to Dr. Shobha Mangoli, because she wanted something like Triber's Tiny Tales come up. Triber's Tiny Tales basically are a story of each and every person who is a participant, a member, or even if it's a non-member. But basically, it's the story of every woman. We all know women go through experiences, good, bad. So the good, the bad, the ugly. This is where the Tiny Tales stemmed from. And I would also like to give credit to Dr. Anita Raja as well as to Nandini for having nurtured that. And I was also part of it eventually. Initially, I must say I was a little hesitant. And the reason I said I want to give credit to Dr. Shobha is because she recognized that talent in me. And the same thing I would say for Dr. Anita. She also recognized, and both of them ensured that they encouraged me at every step of the way. So that's how I really got started. And when it comes to how do I really think of something every day, well, we all go through our experiences, don't we? Each one. We interact with so many people in a day. And just talking to you helps me think of an idea, and that goes up on as a poster or as a story the next day. So yeah, my inspiration is you and the people out here, each and every one. Any word said by someone is enough for me to feel charged up, and I just write. So I would like to express my gratitude to each one who is present here, or who is ready to listen, or who is part of the group of Tribes of Women. Each one is an inspiration, and that's how I really am holding on and creating out such content.
That's so lovely, because you are giving the entire credit to everyone, to people, and this is a real talent that Shobha ma'am found this talent in you, that you have something. Because I think sometimes all we need is a push from our teammates to do better, that this is something you have and you should do it. When you are good at it, why don't you? And eventually that will help the entire team. Like, since ma'am found this talent in you, so you started to nurture it, and right now the entire Tribes of Women is included in this particular initiative. Everybody is all together. So talking about this my zone, and like, I read your stories in English. That is something that the stories, the captions, the tiny tales, everything is in English. So if I was to ask you, how important is a language for you in terms of communication? Can we expect other versions of my zone? Like, we live in India, you live in Abu Dhabi. So there might be cases that, of course, English is right now something that is connecting all of us in case we have language differences. So are you planning to come up with other versions of my zone, or is the Tribes of Women planning to do something like that?
Very much. What a pertinent question. Well spotted, I must say. Yes, we do intend to have it in other languages. Of course, we started with English because English is the universal language that binds the entire globe together. And that is a language that everybody understands and relates to. So we do understand that there are women from different walks of life, different stages of life. For example, there are underprivileged women. We intend to work with underprivileged women. We would like to work with people in the corporate sector. We would like to work with people who are just housewives, people going through trauma. So the intention now is for us to grow in terms of preparing content for specific targeted, let's say, situations or areas.
Okay.
And it could be in different languages as well. So I can boast of being proficient in at least 3 languages. I am on the way to learning 2 more languages, which is in progress. Likewise, my teammates, all of them know at least 2 to 3 languages, or even 4 languages. And the idea is that if there is a limitation of people being able to understand only a particular language, we are ready with that. We will cater to that audience as well and ensure that they get what? Because our main purpose is women empowerment. For a woman to understand herself, to express herself well, and to realize her own worth. Especially women in India, and I wouldn't discount people in other countries, but because we are all from India, we are currently focusing here. We do have, of course, people from elsewhere as well. I do not live in India at the moment. I have a few other members who live abroad. Some of them are in the US, some of them are in other countries as well. So we do have a good global crowd, but we would also like for people to know more about this and for them to join, if only that they can identify. So the idea is finding and facing yourself. The idea is finding yourself in a relationship, being able to discover the true you. That is our goal through my zone.
Yeah, like you said, finding your own self, and the examples, the tiny examples that you were giving me, I would tell my audience that this is something that she posts on her status, and this is something that we can read on her WhatsApp, on her LinkedIn, on her Instagram, and that's everywhere. And that is something you will enjoy reading, because I, as an individual, if we keep this podcast aside, I actually like to read her stories every day, that there is something that she's coming up with. And if you are into writing, or even if you are into reading something interesting, so I would recommend that you should go and check out whatever she posts. That wouldn't take you more than 2 minutes, I guess. And then you will have a thought process to think on something, that okay, what she mentioned right now is something that I faced on this particular day, or I'm sure you must have had it someday, or you will have it someday. So this has been like that.
Thank you. Yes, I would second that, because I find that every day, generally, we are asked to express gratitude, right? So many of us go through the gratitude apps and we get posts from them, and every day we are reminded. This is a gentle reminder for each one to think for themselves. Because unless and until we start with self, we cannot go beyond. We do need tiny flowers here and there, I would say, which glow or grow, and they tend to distract us from the issues that we have. This question that I put up every day is something that should make you sit up and think. And if you like, you can jot it down and maybe think through during the day, or even later, if at all you feel that right now I'm not in a state to think, I want to do it later. Sure enough, please do that, because, but the thing is, you do need to do that because it's for oneself.
Do it whenever you can, but at least do it. Better late than never, right?
Very much so.
Okay. So what I would say is that I actually love what you have been doing, and be it writing those tiny tales, those my zone, and be it you being a psychologist. So there have been a lot of things, and you've been doing multiple things. But if I was to ask you, what is that one thing that you love the most about all this? So what is it going to be?
Right. So, yes, I do a lot of things because obviously we do see clients on a regular basis and interact with people. We are also people who manage the household, and we also nurture our hobbies. And this is our work. So, the very fact that I studied psychology was because I had this curiosity in life to know about people. And as I progressed in the field, of course, I kept reading. I'm a voracious reader. I managed to read at least, and I'm putting it as a minimal, one page every day. Not a full book, of course. Sometimes I managed to finish a book in a few hours as well. But this need for me to be connected to people, to be able to connect with people and make a difference to the person I come across. And now, thanks to Tribes of Women and my zone speaking the unspeakable, I have nurtured it even more when I find that this is something which is me, I have found my purpose. This is what I love most. Connecting with people, being with people, understanding them, and making a difference to them. That is my goal and my purpose, and I am there, I would say.
Yeah, so I don't have to ask you that how close have you got to helping people, or how close have you got in terms of communicating with people, because people can actually get an idea after listening to this entire conversation that how you must be working and how you have been doing this to other people, or doing this to your own self. Okay, so I think I have had this little and sweet conversation with you. And getting to the end of this podcast, before I end my conversation with you, if I was to ask you one last question, do you have anything to say to our listeners to inspire them? This entire conversation has been very much inspiring, very much interesting. But if I like, it's always said there is never enough of good things, so we can never feel like it's okay, this is enough, this should get over. So this is the situation that I'm into. So if I was to ask you this thing, so what is it going to be?
I'll take advantage of this and say not one but a few things. First and foremost, welcome to Tribes of Women. We are waiting for you to join us and see how you can make a difference to yourself just by being with us. And the other thing is, I do make a difference each and every day, because I know that I get private responses from a lot of people giving me answers to the questions that I post. So, what's stopping you? Go ahead and do that. Read them, answer them. We can have a discussion. And I'll share one thing which I have always believed in. I had read it somewhere actually, and it is something that I have put it as a tagline in my email. It says, "Never fear shadows. It only means there's a light shining somewhere nearby." And this light is Tribes of Women, is what I'd like to add to it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Abu Dhabi. I think it's evening or night there, somehow like that.
We are just an hour and a half behind India.
So it's already evening in India. Okay, so dear viewers, what's the moral of this story? Choosing a positive attitude is one of the most powerful things we can take. Don't forget that grass grows through concrete. Think of yourself as an elastic band that bends and stretches to a certain point before you spring back higher than you fall, and you will have the physical and mental stamina to come back unstoppable. On that note, I would like to end this episode of the Changemakers of Mentogram. Stay tuned for more such inspiring stories until the next episode. I am your host, Pratiksha.
Thank you.